You are live on WOZO Radio 103.9 LP in the Knoxville area. Is this Big Stevie J?
That would be he.
Okay, great. You didn't happen to be listening to on the air beforehand, were you?
No, I'm literally just now, whatever you're doing now is what I'm hearing now.
Gotcha. Okay, I think everything sounds good. You're coming in good on my end. See, we're not nearly as high-tech as Omaha. You guys are like the cutting edge. It's like Tokyo and then Omaha in terms of technology, right?
Well, yeah, we are kind of the technology capital of the Midwest. PayPal's based here. A lot of stuff is based here.
Well, what I think of is like, Google in San Francisco and then Omaha and what?
Seattle, probably.
Oh, Seattle, yeah, that'd be better, yeah. How you doing, Stevie? Thanks for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm very caffeinated. I just got back from Starbucks, so I'm all wired up to talk about UFC Fight Night 88, Almeida versus Garbrandt.
But before we get to that, what's your choice over at Starbucks? What do you go? What do you do?
I just go for the plain blonde roast, and then I add half and half and sugar.
Okay, well, see, I'm a Tazo tea man. I'm a large Tazo tea guy. Anyway, well, I'm glad you're juiced up. I got my Rockstar energy drink here, and because I was just training some jiu-jitsu, and now I'm here talking live, and we are going to break down the UFC. I believe it's Fight Night 88. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. It's the 88th time, which means 87 others preceded this one, and now we got to get the job done 88 times more.
Yeah. Now, UFC likes to number everything. Do you think there will be a day when they drop the numbering? I mean, we're coming up to UFC 200. This is 88 for Fight Nights. There's a bunch of other Fox cards in there. Are they ever going to drop this, or are we going to have UFC 3081?
Well, with the Fight Nights, they really don't refer to the number. I mean, we keep track of it as reporters, but they're calling this Fight Night Almeida versus Garbrandt. They're not really calling it Fight Night 88 in their press.
Right. Okay. Well, I think 88 might be a better number than Garbrandt versus Almeida, because I think to the casual fan, nobody knows who Cody Garbrandt is.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, he's done the minimum amount he needs to get this fight some publicity by saying that Thomas Almeida padded his record by beating a bunch of cab drivers. So, okay, he got the MMA websites talking, but out in your general public, outside of our circle, probably not a lot of people would know him.
Well, we're going to go through individually and make our picks, but as we do so, feel free to just jump in and go off topic if you feel like it. If something strikes your fancy and you want to bring it up.
So
it's a very loose.
Yeah, like over the top radio, just kind of freestyle it, huh?
No. Please don't compare me to over the top radio. That's a garbage show for garbage people. This is a professional show. I mean, I can only in my frame of view, I can only see about 6 photos of clowns, and I'm in a very weird room. It's a bunch of college-esque things on the wall, craziness. But yeah, we're a professional show here. That's why when I start on time, or that's when I start 4 minutes late with my song cutting in and out. That's professionalism. So anyway, I was telling the folks a little bit about your site, AngryMarks.com, and I was saying how sometimes I write for you and sometimes you cover the UFCs and the different events. Why don't you explain what your site is all about?
Well, about 12, 13 years ago now, a couple of friends here in Omaha and I decided, hey, we're angry about this wrestling stuff. It really stinks right now. Why don't we call ourselves the Angry Marks and start our own website? And as it turns out, one of those guys moved to Texas and one of those guys moved to South Dakota. So I'm pretty much the last man standing. And even though they were angrier than me, I inherited the name and the website. So it's me from this point forward.
So the guy who moved to South Dakota, he's less angry now? That seems like a...
No, actually I think he's more angry, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah, he's going to start angrier Marks because he got stuck moving to South Dakota. It could be worse. It could be North Dakota, I suppose. So you're a UFC, WWE news site, essentially.
Yeah, jack of all trades. Anything in combat sports, professional wrestling, we'll take anything on, except boxing. I don't get too heavily into it. It's got to be a really big boxing show, but MMA and wrestling.
Well, last night I saw a really great boxing match. It was this Italian guy. he beat up the champion, and it was like went 15 rounds, and then like he knocked him out, and then like they both were getting up at like the final 10 seconds, and then I think the Italian guy won, and then his girlfriend got in the ring. Have you seen that fight before?
No.
That's Rocky. I watched Rocky 2 last night.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about one of those premier boxing ones on Spike.
No, God no. Boxing has fallen off the radar completely in my world, other than the Rocky movies. It just doesn't interest me at all.
You know, I still haven't seen the new one, the relaunched one with his son, with Apollo's son as the lead. I got to go see that. I heard good things.
Well, I saw half of it on an airplane, and the first half was excellent, so I can't tell you that. I can recommend the first half.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, no. So ironically, my wife has gotten into boxing recently, as she's working with the Golden Gloves as part of her sports medicine training, and so she's like, we need to watch all the Rocky movies, and so we've been watching them in order. So that's why that was in my mind. But no, I couldn't possibly care about the Klitschko's. I mean, even Mayweather at this point. I mean, I guess I'd watch his next fight, but it just doesn't really do it for me.
Do you think there's any realistic, and I've already shot this down talking about it with Peter on Glove Up or Shut Up, but do you think there's any realistic possibility that Mayweather and McGregor are going to have a fight? I say no.
No, there can't be. I mean, it's just pandering and posturing. I feel like what would the rules have to be? Because if you had anything but boxing, Floyd's done. If you had kicking, Floyd's done. If you had grappling, Floyd's done. It has to be pure striking. So, and even then, like, what weight do you put it at? I mean, what do you think? I think no.
Yeah, I don't even see UFC even briefly considering this, because they just say, no, there's too much risk that something goes wrong and we lose on one of our biggest money draws, arguably maybe their biggest, so they wouldn't even allow him to do a straight-up boxing match, let alone the fact that, like you said, there's no way Mayweather would agree to any terms other than straight-up striking, so it's just not going to happen. It's
just not going to happen, yeah. I mean, who knows, 5 years and both their careers are over, and, Antonio Inoki's still alive and he decides to put something on for New Year's Eve. You never know, something like that. But in a real America, sanctioned bout, absolutely not happening. Yeah, and Conor's been saying he's earned, I'll ask you this question, he's been saying he's been earning UFC $400 million. Is that even in the ballpark of anything reality?
I wouldn't say it's not within the ballpark, but he is greatly inflating the amount. I don't have the actual numbers in front of me. That's the kind of thing we'd go to Dave Meltzer for, WrestlingObserver.com. But I would say he's generated significant revenue for them. He's done pay-per-views that get over 1 million buys, and at $50 a pop, you can figure that's easily a big chunk of change for any pay-per-view he's done.
Right. So now the next fight for Conor most likely is the Nate Diaz rematch. And so last we've heard Nate Diaz showed up and said, well, I want exactly as much money as Conor's making, or I'm not fighting.
He also said a lot of things that we can't say over public airwaves.
Sure. What can you allude to what his demands were?
Well, his demands basically boiled down to, I'm a guy that the public's interested in. I can say one thing on Twitter and get 100,000 people to follow it and retweet it. He's basically saying I'm at the same level of Conor McGregor in terms of people being interested in me and being interested in the fight. So there's no reason not to compensate me exactly the same way as him when I've already beaten him and he has something to prove, not me.
That's a great point. So you're Dana White. Do you pay him each $50 million?
I don't know if you can, because Dana's already shown that he will not bow to pressure, with Conor McGregor basically saying, I didn't want to come and do the press, and Dana saying, well, then if you don't want to do the press, we're not doing the fight. He's shown a willingness to not accede to fighters' demands, and if Nate's demanding the same amount of money as Conor, he's going to say, no, if I'm not going to take Conor's demands, I'm not going to take yours either.
That's a good point, yeah. But I mean, the fight. I mean, so then what do you do with both guys if you can't put $100 million into one fight, one purse? I mean, you got to break them up then. So where does Conor go? Back down to 145, defends that strap, or what do you think?
Well, at some point he really has to defend it or vacate it. He can't just keep hanging on forever, taking fights at lightweight and welterweight while the title sits idle. That's not really fair to any of the other contenders like Frankie Edgar. You got to give those guys a fair right to fight for the title too.
Yeah, yeah. And I believe the original plan was to make an interim title with Aldo versus, was that, or am I making that up? Aldo versus Edgar was going to be interim?
Yeah, I believe that was the plan for the fight in Las Vegas over 4th of July weekend, their International Fight Week. But I don't know if that's still the plan, but that was what I heard last.
Okay. Are you going to International Fight Week?
At this point, that's a 50-50 proposition. I'd like to go, but I'm probably not going to get credentials for it, and that's kind of the way I justify the expense of going, is if I get credentialed. So I may just end up covering stuff from home.
Gotcha, I gotcha. Well, I'll be there if you show up. I'd love to hang out, and I'm sure we will if you show up. But let's look at this UFC Fight Night 88 card. It's got some pretty unique people fighting on here. There's lots of people I've never even heard of, quite frankly. Start with the first one. Chris De La Roca versus Adam Milstead. I mean, I don't know anything about these two, so go ahead and make your pick.
I think they're both newcomers to UFC. If they're not, then they've not done a whole lot before this point. Yeah, I mean, this is a Fight Pass fight, and you kind of know the deal with Fight Pass. It's like the introductory guys, the guys that are in danger of being cut. In fact, I just don't even know what you can really say about Chris De La Roca other than the fact that he lost to a guy that maybe is obscure or more obscure than him in Melnichuk, and that's his only fight in UFC to date, and that was over a year ago. So, of the two of them, I mean, 4-1 and 7-1, they're pretty much the same fighter, but given that Milstead's got a win streak going, I'll go with him.
All right, I'll take De La Roca because he's got 45 pounds on him. So we'll split there.
Sure.
All right, next fight. This one actually is this is the Fight Pass early prelims, I guess main event. It is the number 4 ranked Aljamain Sterling versus the number 8 ranked Brian Caraway. I have some particular feelings, so you go ahead first.
I've got Sterling all day in this fight. I feel like he's probably your, if not next contender at bantamweight, he's right there in the mix to be, and he's absolutely proven his worth over and over again in every fight that he's had. He's 13-0. Caraway, not taking anything away from him, he's a very good fighter, has always done better than he's been expected to, but he's also lost some fights where if you really wanted him to be a top contender, you wouldn't want him to lose, like Rafael Assunção and Takeya Mizugaki, so my money's on Aljamain Sterling.
Well, I was going to say exactly what you just said, which is I think Aljamain Sterling is going to be a player really soon here is this 135? This
Yes.
is bantamweight.
Yes.
Bantamweight against but more particular to me is I hate Brian Caraway. I think he's just sort of a dork and just sort of a big mouth, and anytime he gets his butt kicked, I'm a big fan. So aside, I mean, he's a decent fighter, and he's dating Misha Tate. I believe. Are they still dating? Probably.
Yeah. In fact, that seems to be a lot of the hate that comes his way is just because of the fact he's with Misha. I think that gets him a lot of garbage thrown his direction.
Well, it's deserved because he gets into, like, he causes trouble for her, which kind of irritates me. It's like, dude, like, shut up.
Yeah, he's a rabble rouser. There's no question about that.
Right, and so I guess he's playing his role properly because I want to see him get his butt kicked. So
yeah,
let's go, Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah, he's kind of the Michael Bisping of the bantamweights.
And he kind of looks like that too. Moving on, we have Eric Koch. Or Coach, I can't remember how you say it.
I believe
K-O-C-H.
I believe it's Coke, like Coke Zero.
Coke. Eric Coke Zero versus Shane Campbell. Don't have much to say here. You got any thoughts?
I'm kind of feeling like Eric Koch is, I mean, he's always been a good fighter. He's always been a knockout artist, but he's lost 3 of his last 4, and I'm starting to think that the writing's on the wall for him. Shane Campbell, kind of a prospect, kind of an up-and-coming guy. He's got a great kickboxing record, but he's a little unsteady in UFC. He's only won 2 of his last 3, so it's kind of a coin flip proposition. Actually, he lost 2 of his last 3, won 2 of his last 4, so if you're going to flip a coin, I'd go with Campbell, but it could go either way.
But one of the things I like to add to on this show is if you have any insider, not necessarily insider, but if you have a good feeling about a bet that people could possibly make, like, go ahead and throw that out there too, because we're always looking for edges to try. You know, if you feel something is a good bet, I want to hear that too.
All right.
I don't have anything in particular to say about either of these two guys. Coke looks tougher. I don't know. Doesn't matter to me. I'll take Coke. Moving on. We have Alberto Uda versus Jake Collier. So I look at all these percentages and these statistics. Maybe you can help me answer this question. So I'm looking at something like 3.88 strikes landed per minute, and accuracy is 36.24%. Absorbed per minute, 3.3. How do they figure this stuff out?
Well, they have somebody that sits there with a computer and watches the fight and taps the button every time they see a strike thrown or landed.
Right. No, I mean, I get that, but, like, after the fight, do they review all the tape and, like, get it correct, or is it sort of live on the fly and use statistics keeping?
I would assume for the most part it's live on the fly, but to know if they actually review it, I'd have to talk to somebody at CompuStrike, because I can't tell you what their exact way of doing things is. I only know when they show the statistics like you're reading right now that they either derived it from the fight or they reviewed it and made sure it was right later, but I can't tell you for sure.
Right. I just always find that interesting. It's like, oh, takedown defense is 57. Like, did you go back and, like, who you got to look at something and you're like, was that a takedown? Was that a try? Was that a whatever? There's a lot of gray area when you're judging a fight.
Actually,
live.
You know what? I would think it's easier to judge takedown defense than it is to judge striking, because sometimes it can be hard to tell if somebody lands a significant strike, whether it really did damage or not. But when you see somebody shoot for the legs, you know immediately it's either a takedown or a defense. Either he's getting it or he's not.
Right. Yeah, that one's probably pretty easy, pretty straightforward. But, you know, like you get a guy against the cage, and you sort of drop down, you change your levels, and you kind of hook the legs. Is that an attempt? You know, I don't know.
In my mind, yes. The minute you drop levels, you're either trying to get a takedown or you're trying to make the guy think about a takedown. So one or the other. Okay,
yeah, good point. The significant strike is the one that always sticks out to me. You're like, that doesn't really look like it hurt. Nah, not significant. You know what I mean? Like, how does that get decided upon?
Yeah, I can't even begin to tell you how that's decided, especially when you got guys that try to act like nothing hurts. Like Anderson Silva will just stand there and bob his head and smile at you. It's like, how do you tell anything is a significant strike when it comes to that guy?
Right. Or you're down there live and you just can't see it. You're like, did that land? You know, did that not land? Did it land clean? Sometimes the knockout blows come and like hit the guy on the back of the neck, and you be like, oh, that doesn't even seem like it would hurt, but it put him out. So I just kind of take these statistics, you know, with a grain of salt. Is they're a good sort of indicator, but they're not necessarily predictive of much. Anyway, back to Collier and Uda. I like Jake Collier.
He is the favorite, so it seems like a sensible place right now to go with your fight picks. But for what it's worth, he's lost 2 of his last 3, and he's not really fighting the top guys. You know, the only one that he's really fought that I would consider a name is Peter Miranda, and he got straight knocked out in the last second of that round. So,
I remember that.
Yeah,
he got saved by the.
Yeah, everybody thought he'd be saved by the bell, but he wasn't. Miranda got that. So, I guess I'll go with Collier too, but I don't have a lot of faith.
Yeah. All right, now we're coming up to an exciting fight. Abel Trujillo versus Jordan Rinaldi. And if I'm correct, Rinaldi's taking this fight on short notice?
Right. Trujillo was supposed to fight Carlos Diego Ferreira, but he had some kind of USADA policy violation, and we don't know what it was yet, but he got flagged, he got pulled from the fight, so Rinaldi is taking this on very, very short notice.
What do you think about short notice guys? I mean, because in pro wrestling, there's a sort of a thought process where if you have to swap out a fighter last minute, then you put the new guy over. I know that's not the case here, but sometimes it's almost, we go, it's the new guy, the guy who was originally slated is definitely going to win this fight. But that's not always the case.
Well, my friend Peter likes to always say that a short notice fighter is fighting with house money, and by that he means if you're taking a fight on a week or 2 weeks notice and you're not supposed to win, you could basically go out there and just fight just completely crazy for the first round since you've got nothing to lose anyway. You weren't supposed to win. Maybe you can throw a wild haymaker and knock a guy out.
Exactly. You are listening to WOZOLP 103.9 FM Knoxville, WOZORadio.com on the World Wide Web. And we are talking with Angry Marks owner, we'll go with owner, Stevie J. You can follow Stevie J on Twitter. Is it at Angry Marks? Is that you?
Yes, that's me.
And at Angry Marks News is also you?
That one's just affiliated with the site, but I don't run that particular account.
Okay. Well, if you'd like to follow Stevie and all of his writings and goings-on, AngryMarks.com, or follow him on Twitter at AngryMarks. And again, you can tweet to either of us using the hashtag WOZO. And you're listening to the Peach Machine's Parade. Tweet to me at Peach Machine if you have questions for either of us. We are breaking down UFC Fight Night 88, Almeida versus Garbrandt. Yeah. And we are at. So I'm a big fan of Abel Trujillo. I think he's going to kill this guy. But Rinaldi looks tough. So I don't know what to say here.
Yeah, Rinaldi is definitely a tough guy. He's won 5 straight fights in a row, albeit in smaller organizations like Legacy Fighting, but he's a decent guy to bring in on short notice. He's a submission artist, got 7 submissions out of 12 wins, so as a jiu-jitsu guy, you gotta like that.
I love it. And you're totally right with your analysis of taking a fight at short notice. I remember when I was actually fighting in my, back 7 or 8 years ago, and the promoter would call you up with like a 1 week notice. It's like, hey, can you make the weight? And it's like, yeah, no problem. He's like, we'll kick you some extra money because you're doing this on short notice. I'm like, that's even better. And then you just go out there and swing like crazy. It doesn't matter if you lose because, whatever. A little bit different on a huge stage in front of the UFC. So all these guys who come in late, short notice, they're doing them a favor, but they still have to look good. So I'm taking Abel, but I'm hoping Jordan gives him a fight.
Yeah, I will take Trujillo as well, but I expect a good performance.
Now it brings us to our female fight of the night. This is a big one. This is number 6 ranked Sarah McMahon versus number 7 ranked Jessica Evil Eye. Go ahead.
I like Jessica Eye in this one. I think people are underestimating her because she hasn't had a huge win streak in UFC, but she is a super tough girl, and she's been fighting super tough girls. So there's really no shame in saying that she's lost 3 out of her last 4 when those 3 are Alexis Davis, Miesha Tate, and Juliana Pena. I think you gotta look at Sarah McMahon and say she's a good fighter, she's a capable fighter. Is she going to go all the way to a women's title shot? I don't think so. She's lost 3 out of her last 4 herself. Again, no shame in her game considering that's Ronda Rousey, Miesha Tate, and Amanda Nunes. But if I'm looking at the fighter with more upside, it's Evil Eye.
I would agree with you there. She's shown me some good stuff, especially in the fight against Tate. I think she won the first round, and then she sort of ran out of gas. McMahon has never been impressive to me. They always tout her wrestling. I think she was a silver medal Olympic wrestler. Is that correct?
Yeah, she won the silver medal in 2003 and a bronze medal in 2005. So I don't know if that's Olympics. I think maybe that's amateur competition. No, she won the silver in 2004 in Athens.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of real wrestling, Olympic wrestling, and things like that. So I always tend to go with the wrestler. But in this case, I think I'm taking Jessica Evil Eye. So we're both in alignment there. And I think that should be a good fight. That's your Fox Sports 1 main event. So well, I guess all these are free, but that one will be the first round main event. And what do you think for a finish here? Decision, or is Jess going to stop her?
I think it'll go the distance. I expect a decision.
All right. So we both are taking Jessica Eye by decision. That brings us to a fight that will probably not end by decision. Paul Felder, the Irish Dragon, versus Josh Berkman, the People's Warrior. I got a feeling I know who you're picking on this one.
I'm going with Felder, yeah. I feel like Berkman is a veteran fighter and deserves the respect of that, but I also don't think he's capable of fighting at the elitist level anymore.
I agree. He's had like 40 fights or 30-something fights. Felder's younger, tougher, and the way Felder just stands in front of dudes and just like, swing, baby, swing. He did that against Edson Barboza and just took everything, just took it all. It's just like, dude, you can't hurt this guy. And I don't think Josh Bergman's the guy to hurt him tonight. I think Felder finishes him.
I
What do
agree.
you think?
Yeah, totally. First round finish.
And if you're playing DraftKings or any sort of fantasy, I'm taking Felder on my team. Do you do any of that?
I generally don't, but if I did have a fantasy team, I would definitely put him on it.
Yeah. Felder was one of my choices, I think, this week. I don't actually play it because Tennessee is, one of those states where they say, no, gambling's bad. You can play the lottery as much as you want, and, you can lose money that way, but not on DraftKings for some reason.
Yeah, it's funny while those laws work state to state. It used to be a lot of people would cross the border from Nebraska to Iowa just to gamble. That's why we got all these casinos on the river.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that there was a bunch of casinos up in Iowa.
Oh, yeah, there's tons. Just go straight across the bridge and you get like 3 of them right there.
Speaking of Iowa, are you planning on going to the Dan Gable Wrestling Hall of Fame thing this summer for Dave?
I'm kicking around the idea of going, but it depends on my schedule because I have commitments for MMA Mania as well. They expect me to cover Bellator and World Series fighting and interview a lot of the fighters, so it always depends on what my schedule is like doing those events if I can get away to go to things.
Have you ever been to the Dan Gable Museum?
I've driven by it, but it was closed the day I was there, so I wasn't actually able to go in.
Yeah, I just want to go one time, and this is a good excuse maybe to go, so I might go, I might not, and we'll see. But if you live in the Iowa area, you should definitely check out the Dan Gable. What city is that in? Davenport? No, it's not.
I think it's in Iowa City, but I could be wrong.
Nobody cares about Iowa. You figure it out. There's probably only one city up there. Des Moines, right? That's one of them. All right. Now we're moving on to formerly one of my favorite fighters and one of my least favorite fighters, Jorge Masvidal versus Lorenz Larkin. Now, is this fight taking place at 170? It has to be, right?
I'm double checking right now since you asked, and it's a middleweight fight. Wait, yeah, yeah. Sorry, say it again.
170, welterweight.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's Masvidal and Larkin. That's welterweight.
Right. So Masvidal has previously fought at 155. Lorenz Larkin has previously fought at 185.
Yeah, that's why we're getting a little mixed up here with what weight class they're at.
Right. So I used to be a huge fan of game-bred Jorge Masvidal. I just thought he was a great striker, but he's been brought back down to earth. I'm hoping he finds a resurgence here at 170, but it looks like Lorenz Larkin's beating him to that resurgence as he's sort of found new life coming down from 185, where he kind of looks soft and a little bit out, oversized, and he's been doing well. So what do you think here?
This is another one of those virtually a coin flip fights. If you're looking at the odds makers, they have Larkin minus 125, Masvidal plus 105. And I'll tell you why I like Masvidal in this fight. The 2 fights that he's lost recently, Ally Quinta, Benson Henderson, both really tough guys, both split decisions. So you could have thrown that either way, and the guy could be 6 fights in a row instead of 4-2 in his last 6. So I actually like Masvidal in this fight.
Huh. Okay, that's a great analysis there. I'm actually taking Larkin because I think Masvidal just isn't going to hit hard enough, and Larkin hits hard enough. I'm hoping. I would actually like to see Jorge Masvidal get the win here because I think he's been around forever and he fights hard. But I think Larkin's just going to be too quick, too slick, and going to get the Duke there. But we'll see. We'll see.
It could go either way. It really could. And you're right. Larkin is a knockout artist. 10 knockouts and 16 wins. So if he could put a really good one on Masvidal's chin, anything can happen. But Masvidal is the kind of guy that doesn't get finished very often. He's only been knocked out once.
Yeah. What I don't like is that him coming up in weight. I feel like when fighters come up in weight, and I've seen this happen personally and with guys I train with or whoever, when it's I don't have to make 55 this time. I only got to make 70 or whatever. I don't think they train as hard, and because you have that huge window of air now, or huge margin of air you have. And so I think that's a slippery slope where guys are like, oh, yeah, so I don't have to cut as much weight, so I'll be fresher, but then they don't train as hard. That's what I've seen, and that's kind of what I'm predicting. But who knows? Who knows?
You know, with some of these smaller weight classes, I actually feel like it works the other way because guys try to get from like 180 down to 135 or 145, and then when suddenly they don't have to make that huge cut, they don't feel as completely drawn out, they're not totally dehydrated, and they actually have more power when they fight. I'm not saying that applies here, but with the smaller weight guys, sometimes it really makes a difference. Just look at Shayman Moraes in World Series Fighting, how much more powerful he was when he went up to 145.
Yeah, you're right, and I think you're right. I think it's definitely different for the lighter weight classes versus the bigger weight classes. I mean, the bigger weight guys are kind of lazy anyway.
Oh, I won't say that, but you can say that.
I'll fight them. I don't care. Now we have perennial. I'm trying to say perennial knockout recipient Chris Camozzi versus Vitor Miranda. Vitor's nickname is Lex Luthor, so that's kind of fun. I don't like Camozzi at all. I don't think he has a chance. What do you think?
I said this with Peter on Glove Up or Shut Up, but he tends to beat the guys he should beat and not beat the guys he shouldn't beat. Like, when he faces somebody good like Jacare Souza, he's gonna lose, and when he faces a guy that's like tail end of his career like Joe Riggs, he's gonna win. So, he's your middle of the road fighter, whereas Vitor Miranda, I feel like that's the guy that's kind of upcoming. Even though he's 37, he's really on a roll of late. He's won 3 straight fights, and he's definitely, when you talk about knockout artists, I know you like that term, this guy is a knockout artist. 75% of its wins by knockout.
And Camozzi likes to go to sleep, so I'm taking Miranda here for sure, and I think evil will rise. Lex Luthor will put his stamp on the chest of Chris Camozzi, even though there's something ridiculous already there on his chest.
Not as ridiculous as Alan the Talent Belcher's arm.
Oh, that's ridiculous as well. But someone asked me when I was fighting, they're like, "Are you ever going to go to UFC?" I'm like, "I don't have any tattoos." Sorry.
Yeah,
I got to have a bunch of extra money to waste on getting ridiculous sleeves and stuff. So, until that happens, probably not. Also, I'm a very average fighter, so probably not that way either. All right, now we're moving on to another interesting fight. Number 10 contenders, Tarek Saffiedine versus number 11, Rick the Horror Story. I used to love Rick Story.
Oh, yeah, this guy used to be Mr. Excitement.
Yeah, and then he hasn't fought for like almost 2 years now. Do you know about that?
Just injuries. He keeps getting bad breaks, but he's coming in full health. And actually, Saffiedine is the one that's a little suspect with the injuries of late. In fact, they were almost going to pull him from this fight. So if you're looking for your insider pick, don't just look at the line here, because if you look at the line, you're going to think it's a coin flip. But I'm favoring Rick Story heavily.
Okay, well, that's great. That's great insider knowledge. What's the line there? Is he plus something?
Yeah, Saffiedine is sitting right at plus 100. Rick Story is the favorite at minus 120. But to me, it means nothing, because when a line's that close, it's really a coin flip either way. But I'm saying it's not in this case. I think Story takes advantage of Saffiedine and whatever undisclosed injury he has.
Do you have any knowledge of what that injury might be?
No, if it was serious enough that they were going to pull him from the fight, you would think it's like a leg or a shoulder or some significant limb. Right, yeah, so they're keeping it quiet. They don't want Story to know what it is, but he's still going to take advantage regardless. Well, let's hope that Rick Story's almost 2-year layoff finds him with some not much ring rust, and he can come out fast and finish Tarek Saffiedine, because I really like the kid. I like the Horror Story. That's a good nickname as well. He's like, and he reminds me of Jake Ellenberger, real tough wrestler, real tough, blockhead and grinder. But I think he's faster, he's younger, he's slicker, and so I'm hoping Rick Story gets back on a winning roll here. But we shall see. That brings us to the semi-main event, with probably the only 2 fighters anyone's ever heard of on the show, at least your casual fans. Former bantamweight champion Renan Barão, not even ranked here, versus the number 9 ranked Jeremy Stephens. This is interesting. Right. And I think the fact that he's no longer considered to be a pound for pound top fighter in the world is exactly the kind of motivation he needs. Because if you look at his recent track record, the only guy that he's lost to is TJ Dillashaw. So maybe he's not ranked right now, but maybe moving up in featherweight is exactly what he needs. Because like I said earlier, some of these guys that really have trouble making a cut to a smaller weight, they make a smaller cut and suddenly they're that much better.
So you're saying this fight is not at 135, it's at 145.
That's correct. This is featherweight.
Okay, so this could be a huge deal because Barao is one of those guys who cuts 40 plus pounds. He cuts from 180 down to 135. He was a monstrous bantamweight, and that's why he went almost 30-0 or whatever he went. So I'm seeing this, well, now I'm even seeing it more. Barao is going to be back in old form. He's going to light Stevens up with kicks. And I think they put Stevens in there as a punching bag because that's sort of what he's best at being, is just taking a beating. So I'm thinking Barao finishes him late in the fight.
He's a stand and deliver kind of guy, and that's why you like Jeremy Stevens in this role, is he's either going to knock somebody out or he's going to get knocked out. That's all he likes to do, is stand and bang.
What was his last fight? He won his last fight.
He didn't win his last fight. He lost a decision to Max Holloway.
No, it was 2 fights ago then, maybe.
Oh, Dennis Bermudez. He knocked him out with a flying knee.
That was a crazy fight. That was the last Conor fight I was at. That was an unbelievable comeback by Jeremy Stevens.
And it was a very necessary one too, because he missed weight for that fight.
That's right. So is this going to be was that last fight at 45 as well?
Yeah, he's been fighting at 145. Even though he missed weight for a couple of those fights, he did make the weight for Holloway.
What do you think about guys who consistently miss weight? What do you think we should do with that?
Well, I think in Renan Barrao's case, they told him, okay, you're moving up to featherweight because he was having so much trouble getting down to 135. And, I believe Stevens has proved he can make featherweight with the Holloway fight, so we'll see what he looks like when he steps on the scale today. But if he was to miss again, and he's got a track record of missing, and I'm Dana White, I'd be like, after this fight, you're moving up to lightweight, or if you lose, we're cutting you.
Right. Yeah, I agree. But just like the day of the fight, I've been on the scale against a guy who's missed weight, and it just makes you so mad.
Right.
It's I don't even want to.
It's unprofessional. It's like, I did all this work, I did all this training, I dieted, I did everything correctly, I made the weight, you didn't, you suck.
And then the guy has the gall to look across you and just be like, it's just 2 pounds, who cares? I'm like, dude, I cut it, you cut it. like, all right, fine, I'll give you some money. It's like, no, make the weight. Or, I don't know, it's infuriating to me the way they do the weight, the way they allow you're basically allowed to miss.
Right.
That's what I don't like.
Oh, you want to talk about infuriating? When Alexis Dufresne missed the weight for the fight with Marlos Kunin, I thought the fight should have been scrapped. I'm like, how dare you come in at 150 pounds for a 145-pound try? You didn't even try.
That's exactly ridiculous. Exactly. You would want to know you want to know that person was up until that second in the sauna dying, right? Not because guys will miss by 5 pounds. I'm not even close, and they stop cutting. And it's unfair, and I don't know how you correct that, but whatever. Let's talk about the main event here. So we're both taking Barao, and I think that's going to be a pretty wild fight.
Mm-hmm.
And in our main event, that leads to the number 7 ranked Thomas Kohiminas, that's his nickname, Thomas Almeida versus Cody No Love Garbrandt. Now, if you want to talk some bad tattoos.
Well, he gets no love for the tattoos, and he gets no love in the rankings either, so he's got a lot of no love right now.
Yeah, no love. I mean, the one thing that freaks me out is the neck tattoos, like the throat, like right on the throat. If you got that tattooed, I'm like, you're a guy I don't want to mess with.
Yeah, I don't want a needle anywhere near my throat. Somebody asked me about this the other day, and I'm like, if I'm getting a tattoo anywhere, and I don't have any, it would be on my arm, somewhere that I could live with. The amount of pain to get a tattoo on your neck, no thanks.
I would take forehead over throat.
Yeah. I would take that over groin, too. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so no love is expected to not show much here. Everyone's just kind of putting big money on Thomas Almeida. He's the wonder kid. He's 21-0. He's a knockout guy. 76% of his wins come by knockout or TKO.
let's not look past Garbrandt completely. He's a knockout artist too. 87% of his wins are by knockout, and he's undefeated as well.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been impressed with every single fight he's had. He comes in, he looks solid, he's tough, he'll take it, and, you know, I mean, but why do you think he's not ranked? Just because he's inexperienced, or?
I think he just hasn't been around UFC long enough. He's only had 3 fights in UFC, and the 2 most recent fights he had were also unranked guys, Henry Biones and Augusto Mendez. So it's hard to be a ranked guy if you haven't beaten a ranked guy. Usually, if you get in and you're not fighting ranked guys, you're like number 15 in the weight class.
Okay. Are you one of the?
Yeah, I'm one of the voters.
Guys who does the ranking?
Yes, I do it for
You're one of the voters?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit how that process works.
Well, they give you an update sheet every single week. They send you a PDF that says, here are the fighters that are ranked in this week's show. Here's how much they should move up or down if they win. It's totally up to you, but we give you some guidelines to let you know what a fighter's going to do. Like, they'll say, for example, you know, this guy's ranked number 7. If he wins, he probably can't move up higher than 6.
Okay. So it's not like, I mean, could you just totally screw it up and be like, Cody Garbrandt, number 1 at heavyweight?
I mean, yeah, you could literally do anything you want with the rankings, but people are going to call you out for it. Like, if you suddenly put a guy that was previously unheard of at number 1 in the weight class, people can view those rankings, and they're going to call you out for it on social media.
But they would know that you made that vote? Personally?
Dude, it's transparent. Everything I vote on, you can go down the UFC rankings and scroll down to the name Steve Jewin and click on it, and it shows what I did and where I moved guys up and down to. It's totally transparent.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, well, I don't really want anything to do with that then. I don't need to be called out, because I thought it'd be fun to be part of the rankings system. You know, I pay pretty close attention, but not nearly as close of attention as you do or anything like that.
Oh, dude, it does become a headache at times. I got called out for where I ranked Rose Namajunas, and people were like, there's no way she's as good as you said. And I said back, did you watch her season of The Ultimate Fighter? Yes, she is. Just you wait. And I think with that fight with Paige Van Zandt, she proved it.
Well, you got absolutely, no doubt. And I predicted that going into the fight. I was like, Paige is out of class. But I didn't realize that, like, 1 vote. Like, how many people do you think are voting? Thousands?
Oh, at least a couple hundred, maybe more than that.
Okay. And
which is why you can't really screw with it that much either, because if you put somebody number 1, you're only 1 out of 200. You're not going to affect the ranking that much.
Okay. I got you. Well, so are you taking Garbrandt or Almeida here? What do you think?
I'm going to take Almeida, and not out of disrespect to Garbrandt, because I already put over his striking record and his power, but I just think he hasn't been as elite as Almeida. I think Almeida, when you watch the way he fights, even though you said yourself he's not a well-known name yet, he should be a well-known name. The way he strikes, the stuff he throws, it makes me want to use 4-letter words that I can't use right now on public radio, but he's just amazing to watch. This guy is something special.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, he's very, very good and has the potential to be sort of, I kind of put him like Edson Barbosa, like that sort of style. I don't know, flashy may not be the correct word, but quality, I guess is the best word I can come up with.
Yeah, I would say a high-quality level striker. This guy's precision and timing and accuracy is amazing. Precision,
that was the word. So, we're both taking Thomas Almeida. Good luck to Cody Garbrandt tomorrow night. If you had to pick 1 fight not to miss tomorrow, what are you picking?
Well, I would go with the main event since we were already hyping it up as 2 undefeated guys, but we already talked about Evil Eye and McMahon. That's a sleeper fight. I don't think people should miss that one.
I would agree with you there, and I also don't think anyone should miss Barao versus Stevens. I think you're definitely going to see some blood if you're a fan of blood.
Yes, indeed. Blood on the dance floor.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun card, and it's starting tomorrow night. I believe you can turn on your Fight Pass at 6 p.m. Eastern. You're on Central Time, right?
Right. So yeah, it's 5 p.m. for me.
Yeah, 5 p.m. So 6 Eastern, 5 Central, and then the main card starts at 9 p.m. Eastern. Are you going to be watching tomorrow night?
I think I might have plans for Memorial Day, so I'm probably going to have to catch the replay.
All right, sounds good. Stevie J, we only got a couple more minutes here, but I wanted to thank you. You did it more time than I asked, easily, and I appreciate you coming on short notice here.
Hey.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us about all your projects?
Well, it's my pleasure to be on WOZO Radio with the legendary Peach Machine. It's been a lot of fun, and if you want to catch all the different things I'm doing, you can follow me on Twitter at AngryMarks. I do regular features for MMAmania.com, where you can find lots of Bellator coverage and interviews with fighters from Bellator and the World Series of Fighting. Occasionally guys outside of that too, like I'll get the random Titan FC or UFC guy here or there, but they kind of have me specializing in the number 2 and number 3 promotions, so that's what I do most of the time for MMA Mania. I also do wrestling interviews for the Wrestling Observer. Just recently I did a feature with Jim Ross. You can check that out there, or you can listen to the audio replay of it at youtube.com/AngryMarks.com. You never know who I might be interviewing for Wrestling Observer, and I've been in that site and affiliated with that site for a very long time, and I always give that respect to Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez. They do great things at the Observer.
Yeah, they really do. Dave is the best in the world, and as big of fans as we are, pales in comparison to his crazy cyborg brain that he traps everything inside.
Oh yes, it's literally fun just to sit at a table with him and listen to people come up to him and ask him a question. He knows the answer before they finish.
Right, like in 1983, when Harley Race was wrestling Ric Flair in St. Louis, Missouri for the NWA title, do you think? And he's like, oh, exactly, I know, I was there. I was like, oh my God, everything.
Yeah, it's really fun when he talks about the time he lived in Dallas and was going to world-class shows. I mean, that is truly special. Ed would agree, even though you're not putting Ed over here. Ed loves the fact that Dave knows so much about world-class.
Oh, Ed. Oh, you missed the first 10 minutes where I just buried him. All I get is text from him demanding something, and then I do it, and then he just tells me I'm a jerk. I'm like, yeah, thanks, buddy. Anyway.
But you know what?
Again,
he is one of the better callers on Observer Live. I'll take him over that guy from Memphis any day.
Is that
Vinny V's biggest fan.
Yeah. Vinny V's biggest fan. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I would also like for you to send your love to your lovely wife Michelle. Tell her I said hello, and hopefully you guys can make it down to Vegas this year. If not, we will catch up in the future.
Absolutely, I'm sure that somewhere along the line we will be crossing paths again very soon.
All right, brother. Thanks again. You can check out Stevie J at AngryMarks.com, and we're going to let you go.
All right, thanks, Peach. Appreciate it.